Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. Now it's summer. That means you're probably out and about taking wonderful summer holiday pictures. But what do you do with all those pictures when you get home? Well, we've got some brilliant travel journal templates, so when you get back from your holidays or your day trips out, you can make wonderful journal pages with your pictures, and I'm going to show you how it's done. Now, I've already opened one of the journal templates. I've got the RT4 template on screen here. Now, there's a few things you can do. First of all, you may see the little guides and grids. If you see those, don't worry, they won't print out, but if you don't want to see them, come up to View and click on Guides. Now, before you start putting pictures into your template, you do need to do two really important things to prepare it. Now, they both involve layers, so F8 on the keyboard will open the layers palette, and what we need to do is to work on the background layer. That's the one right at the bottom here. First of all, right click it, and from the drop down list, click on Promote Background Layer. Now that makes our layer become a raster 1, but we also need to change the blend mode. Where it says normal, click on the drop down list and choose screen. Now those two steps have no visible difference to the template at all, but trust me, you can't miss those out. They are really important, as you'll see in a minute. Right, let's start adding some pictures in. Now I've got a bunch of pictures here that I took on holiday in Verona, and they're all of a similar theme, so should make it a good page for the template. Okay, let's come up to Edit and Copy, close that down, and back to Edit and Paste as New Layer. So you've got to paste it as a new layer, otherwise PaintShop Pro won't put it in the right place. So there it is, there's a new layer floating above our template. But I actually need it underneath. So what I can do is I can just drag that layer and drop it underneath the template layer. Now we can do that because we renamed our layer to Raster 1. Also notice that that black has now vanished, and in fact it's become see-through. Now that's an effect of the screen blend mode. The screen blend mode makes anything pure black become transparent. Trouble is, I want this picture not in the center but over on the left hand side, so I'm going to get the pick tool and I'm going to move it over, but just stop a second before you try and do that. Remember to hold shift as you drag, because although you can't see the black, PaintShop Pro certainly knows it's there, and if you try and drag it, it'll move the template and not the image. So we'll just size this down a little bit, and then again hold shift and move it into position. Now you will forget about holding shift. I forget regularly. If you do forget and the template moves, just Control and Z just to put it back where it was meant to be. Okay, now that's fine, but I've got a bit of overspill onto the next frame along. So I'm going to get myself the eraser tool and just erase those bits away, just like that. Simple and easy, and away it goes. Okay, let's open another picture and do that once again. And edit and copy. Close that picture down and paste it as a new layer. There we go. Now again, we need to resize this, so let's get the pick tool and drag in those corner handles. Then hold the shift key and drag it into position, somewhere around about there. Now this time we've got quite a lot of excess showing, so we've got a lot to remove, but it's exactly the same technique as before, no different. Just get the eraser tool and just erase the stuff you don't need to see. There we go, just like that. And the other side as well, let's do that side so we can tidy that up like that. There we go. Right, okay, so that's 2 down, 1 to go. So third picture coming in now, and we'll copy that, close it down and paste it as a new layer. Again, we'll use the pick tool to reposition it. This time I can't actually see the corner handles, so I need to drag it down before I can resize it. And we'll just move that in a bit smaller in size. Drag it up into position. Now I've actually made it a little bit too small this time, but it doesn't matter. We can just resize it back up again, just like that. There we go, and move it across. Now do watch for tiny little bits along the edges that can creep in. Now you may not see these small bits, it's dead easy to miss them completely, but you do need to erase them. Sometimes it's actually the small bits that are harder to pick up than the really big bits that stick in. Okay, so there we are. There's the basic technique for adding your pictures into the template. And it's exactly the same whether you're doing the arty ones or the square-edged ones. But there's a number of things you can customize on these templates to make these pictures really personal. First thing you can do is actually change the words along the bottom. Back to the layers again, F8 to bring those up. And at the top of the layer stack, you'll find one that says put your caption or comment. Now that's a bit of a red herring for PaintShop Pro because that layer comes from the template that was made in Photoshop. doesn't really work in Paint Shop Pro, so we've got to switch that off and make our own template, our own text rather. So we'll get the text tool, which is the big letter A on the toolbar there, and we'll just click at the bottom where I want my text to go and start typing. Now all these pictures were taken in Verona, so we'll call these the windows and balconies of Verona, like that. And click apply. Well, of course, before you click apply, you might want to change the font. All sorts of fonts you can choose from. I've suddenly grown to like Arial, so I'm going to stick it on Arial, change the size and so on, but I'm happy with that, so we'll click apply. So there's my text, except it's not actually there, is it? It's completely invisible. Well, it's not invisible, it's just we can't see it. The layer order is what's its issue here. We need our font to be right at the top of the layer stack, and it isn't. It's just below the raster 1 template. So we're going to drag that up like that, and hey presto, our font reappears. Wonderful. Okay, so there we are. There's how you can customize the basic template. But what if you want to do something more creative? What about the background? Here it's plain white and I think it works. But in other forms of this sort of template it doesn't work as well. So let's close that down and open up another one. So here's one I've been playing with already. I've added pictures and text, but I'd like to put something in the background here. So I've got a picture to go in there. Let's bring that onto the screen, and we're going to add it in exactly the same way as we added the other pictures to the template. We're going to come up to edit and choose copy, close that down and paste it as a new layer. Now the position of that layer is important. It needs to be just above this layer. This is the original template and it needs to be directly above it. So we're going to drag that down and drop it directly above. Then we're going to turn it off. We don't need it for the moment. We'll come back to it. And we're going to activate the template layer itself. Right, we need to get this white area selected. And for that, we're going to use the magic wand tool and click on an area of white, just like that. Then we're going to come up to selections and choose invert. So now the pictures are selected rather than the background. Right, back to our picture we want as the background. We'll make it active and we'll turn it back on. And we can come up to edit and choose clear, and that'll clear those areas out like that. Right, lose the selection, select none, and if you want to, you can play around with this still further. You can drop the opacity of that layer down, something like that, so you have a nice kind of washed out sort of background. Not quite pure white, you have a little bit of tone and colour in there. Now that works perfectly as long as you're working with the square-edged templates. If you're trying to use the arty-edged ones, that magic wand tool just isn't going to work. So how do you do it with those? Well, the technique is similar, but with a slight twist. So let's have a look at that as well. Let's close that down and open one of the arty templates. So I've gone with this one with the big picture just in the center. Would make a nice opening page to your journal, perhaps. Now, this has got a lot of white on it, and that's okay. I don't mind it, but I want to put a picture in there. So let's get the picture I want to put in. It's actually exactly the same picture as I've used in the center. And we're going to go for edit and copy, and you probably know the drill by now. Close it down, edit, paste as a new layer, in it comes. Same as before, we're going to move that new image directly above the template layer, like that. But this time we need to make it a bit bigger. Where before it kind of fitted on more or less perfectly, this time I'm trying to squeeze a landscape orientated image onto a portrait orientated template. So let's get ourselves that pick tool again, and let's try and make a bit more room for ourselves, and we'll just drag that corner handle up like that, and we'll go and find the other one in a second, and we'll drag that one down like that until it completely fills the screen. It might just take a second to render, but there we are. Now on the layers we can drop the opacity down just like we did before, so it's not so strong in the background, like that. But even dropping the opacity down, we can still see part of the picture coming through our main central image. So what we're going to do is get the eraser tool and carefully rub out any areas where it's kind of spilt over the picture, which is pretty much all of it really. So we'll just go over the picture area like that, but not going too close to the edges, and that kind of works okay. Now along the edges you're still going to get areas where you have the two pictures kind of overlapping. Now in this case that doesn't look too bad, but in many instances that's going to look awful. So what you do there is make your brush perhaps a little bit bigger. Let's just increase the size up just a wee bit so it works nice and soft on the edges. That'll do for now. And we'll go over those edges with the brush. And what will happen now is we'll make sure we remove any image right up to the edge of our nice arty framed central image. But also, as we go around, we'll start to add a very light kind of glow around the edge of the picture. And that in itself is rather nice. So I kind of like that, like there. There we go. Okay, so there we are. There's a couple of different ways you can use our travel journal templates to customize them with your own brilliant summer holiday photos.